Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing the sixth verse from the second chapter of the first canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. The sixth verse is as follows. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahetuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The meaning of this verse is the supreme occupation or dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So this verse is a very, very important verse. From this verse onwards, Sutta Goswami begins to reply to the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. This particular verse is answering the first question which the sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami. If you recollect, the first question was, the ninth verse in the first chapter. Please tell us what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for people in general. Pumsam ekantata shreyaha tannashamsitum arhasi. So what is the absolute good for people in general? So that is described here as the supreme dharma or occupation for all humanity, that by which men can attain to loving devotional service to the transcendental Lord. Paro dharma, supreme, and it is that by which people can get loving devotional service to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada elaborately explains in the purport that the Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. Here, dharma is translated as occupation. And that will be explained by Prabhupada why he translates dharma as occupation. The two types of occupation for a human being that the Vedas prescribe are called pravritti marga and nivritti marga. Pravritti marga is the path of sense enjoyment, and nivritti marga is the path of renunciation. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains the path of enjoyment is inferior path, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The path of renunciation is superior. Now, why is the path of enjoyment described as inferior? Why is it inferior? It's because the path of enjoyment is based on material existence. So material existence actually is a diseased condition of actual life of a human being. Because actual life is spiritual existence or Brahma-bhuta existence. In Brahma-bhuta existence, life is eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. On the other hand, material existence is just the opposite. Material existence is temporary, it is illusory, and is full of miseries. It's just the opposite. So in material existence, there is no happiness at all. We experience in material existence different kinds of miseries, and we try to get rid of the miseries, and when there are no miseries or miseries have temporarily been stopped, then we think that is happiness. So material happiness is not happiness at all. It's not real happiness. It is just stopping some misery. Therefore, the scriptures recommend the path of renunciation of material enjoyment. Now, if somebody may think that if I take to a path of renunciation, then I may experience a difficulty because I'll not have any material pleasures. But actually, what we should understand is, here the recommendation is not simply give up material existence or stop all material pleasures, but it is recommended take up the path of devotional service. And in devotional service, there is eternal, blissful, and all cognizant life, full of knowledge. That is the superior quality of occupation for a human being. Now, one warning is given here. If somebody takes to devotional service, then they should take care not to pollute devotional service with some inferior quality. What does it mean? Supposing somebody performs devotional service for material benefit, like somebody goes to a temple and offers some prayers to the Supreme Lord, but then in exchange for that they want some material benefit. So that is called an obstruction to the path of renunciation. We should understand that material pleasures are always the source of miseries. This is clearly explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate. It is a source of misery, this material happiness. There is no real happiness, simply some illusory happiness. And it also leads to misery. So therefore, renunciation is for ultimate good. Renunciation of what? Renunciation of all types of material pleasures, material engagement, material existence is certainly good. Because what are you giving up when you give up material existence or you give up material occupation? You are giving up enjoyment in the diseased condition. You are giving up illusory pleasure. You are giving up the source of all miseries. That's what you are giving up. So therefore, one should not hesitate when one renounces the material occupations or material existence, and Under proper guidance, if one is able to accept devotional service, then such devotional service should be performed in a pure form, without any desire for any material benefit. Don't desire material benefit while you are doing devotional service, because you should understand that devotional service itself, pure devotional service, is fully blissful, relishable. You just have to wait a little time to actually to begin to experience that transcendental joy of devotional service. It takes a little time. And also, we are accustomed to material happiness. And that material happiness we have got so much addicted or used to, that we think that is the only happiness that one can enjoy in this human form of life. But scriptures are telling otherwise. Scriptures are telling this material happiness is not real happiness. And we have experience of the nature of material happiness. Enough experience we have. It is always flickering. It is there for one moment, next moment it is not there. It will never be permanent. It will never, you'll never be able to experience it over a long period of time. It is called Chapala Sukha. It comes and goes. It is never permanent. Whereas transcendental happiness, spiritual happiness, devotional happiness is everlasting, eternal, and it is never going to give you any misery. Never. So therefore, one should accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord. You should do work as devotional service to Krishna. And that's exactly what yajna means. Yajnarthat karmanaha, when Krishna says, then Krishna means you do all work as devotional service to Krishna. Now, why has Prabhupada translated dharma as occupation? Because the root meaning of the word dharma is that which sustains one's existence. Dri is the root word from which this dharma is derived. Now, a living being's existence is supposed to be to coordinate his activities with the eternal relation with the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Each one of us, we have got a particular relationship with Krishna. Now, Krishna is the center of all the relationships with all the living beings. He is the all-attractive, supreme living being among millions and billions and trillions of living beings. So each and every living being has got his spiritual form, has got his spiritual existence, has got his spiritual relationship, has got his spiritual occupation in the form of devotion and service to Krishna, and that is completely blissful, eternal, full of knowledge. So the relation is described for us to understand in our present stage of conditioned life. To come out of this conditioning, it is explained that the relationship is like that between the servant and the master. Krishna is the master and we are all his servants. But don't carry the conception of servant in the material world. Don't carry conception of material's servant. Material servant, he does not really service a so-called master. Simply he is serving if at all he does any service to the master, because the master will pay him some money by which he can enjoy his sense gratification, sense enjoyment he can get by spending that money. So the master, he is not accepting the service but all by itself. No, he is accepting the service because he is paying some money to get that service so that he can enjoy materially. So both the master and the servant in this material world are simply engaged in some kind of business transaction. I will pay you so that you satisfy my senses. And the servant says, I will receive money in exchange for which I will give you some sense satisfaction. Both are mistaken that they can be happy by this exchange. Both are mistaken. Whereas Krishna is not like that. When we render devotional service to Krishna, then the experience of the happiness or the eternal pleasure, devotional pleasure, is something which satisfies the soul, because that is done, that devotional service is done in an exchange of love with Krishna. So Krishna reciprocates lovingly with the devotee, and in that way the devotee is completely satisfied. Yena atma suprasidati. Here it is said, Yaya atma suprasidati. By such devotional service, one can be completely satisfied. But this devotional service quality should be ahaituki apratihata. It should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. Unmotivated means no material motivation should be there for doing devotional service. And it should be uninterrupted. It should be continuously rendered without any break, without any cessation, without any stoppage. Material activity after some time becomes boring, it becomes hackneyed, it becomes very, very dry. Whereas devotional service is not like that. The more we do devotional service to Krishna, the more we want to do devotional service, because it is relishable. Every bit of it is relishable. So this is to be experienced. This is to be actually experienced. Then only we can get some idea what is this devotional service.